Hi, this is Talon Jane. This is my FTT 104 Week 2 Practical Application Submission video. In this video, we're going to be going over the Mossberg 590 Shockwave. This is the JIC, or just in case model. We're going to be going over clearing, a field strip, and a reassembly. We will talk about a few different things that may be different between the field strip as well as the full disassembly. And then we'll do a functions check at the end. Today is January 1st, and any references I use will be from the schematics that you can find online. I'll put a link down below to where you can find the schematics on the firearms guide. All right, thanks a lot. To start, we'll look at our work area here. We can see that we've cleared the entire work area of any ammunition. There isn't any live ammunition within reach, on the work desk, anything like that. And next we'll go over clearing this particular firearm. All right, so this is the Mossberg 590 Shockwave. As we discussed in last week's video, this is not a shotgun, it is a firearm. And we'll talk again more about that in the next video when we do the full complete breakdown. But for purposes of clearing, the first thing we need to do is ensure that the weapon is on safe. This particular firearm's safety is on the back. It's a thumb slide safety.
Today, Junior!
And if it's forward, that means the safety is off. You can see the red, you're dead. So we push it back. Now safety is on. Okay. Next thing we want to do is press this little lever right here. That will allow us to open up the chamber. Okay. So we push this slide, take the slide to the rear. That'll allow us to look inside of the chamber. You can see here we both visually and physically inspect the chamber, the feed area, and then we'll slide this back forward and inspect the tubular magazine, make sure there's nothing there. So at this point, this particular firearm is clear. Now, in order to go over the field strip disassembly, we're going to need really just one tool plus our hands. We're going to use a punch up here. So we'll open this up. Just grab a standard punch here. This will be pretty much the only tool we need for the field strip. I'll use my little Apple pencil here for pointing out anything. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is bring the slide to the rear. We're going to take off the cap right here. I'll set that right there. Pretty sure that's in frame. Yep, okay. All right, so once we've got that off, we should be able to pull the barrel forward. It's brand new firearm, so it's a little stiff. Okay, so we have the barrel off. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, and this is the only part where we need a tool, is we're going to push this pin right here for the trigger assembly retention pin. Pull that forward, place that right there. Now we should be able to pull this up again. This is a brand new firearm, so it's a little stiff, but you pull up from the rear and that'll pull that out. Okay, and we have two little bars here. Pull these two little bars out right here. We'll go over those in just a moment. Next thing we're going to do is remove the bolt slide, which should be right here. Okay, and then we should be able to slide the bolt forward and out the front. And we have the bolt out. Then we're going to take the handle right here. Those are just a little bit tricky to pull out. They're more tricky to put back in. So we've got that. And lastly, the lifter, now for the lifter, you want to make sure that you have it on safe. We already did that when we clear, but just in case this gets pushed forward, it kind of hinders taking this out. So we want to make sure that that's still on safe. Then you're just going to squeeze and that's going to come right out. There. that is it. That is a full field strip of the Mossberg 590 Shockwave. It's very, very similar to any other Mossberg 500 or 590. Okay, now we're gonna go over some of the parts that we're looking at here, and then also kind of discuss what additional steps will be taken past the field strip level when we get to the complete disassembly. So to start with, we have these two little bars that we were talking about before. Okay, so this one with the little peg that you can see right here, as well as this little out piece right here, this would be your magazine interrupter, or I'm sorry, cartridge interrupter. Okay, and then this one is your cartridge stop. It has a tiny little nipple right there, and then that's pretty much it. So that's your cartridge stop. Okay, this is the bolt. Part of this will be disassembled as well. When we go to do the complete disassembly, there's some pins that have to be removed, and then we'll be able to get in here to the springs and everything in there. Part of the complete disassembly will be a breakdown of this entire trigger assembly. There's several pins. This is probably the part I'm the most nervous about taking apart, just because, I mean, you can just see the amount of pins that we have throughout here, and that's going to come apart. We have the magazine tube, the magazine spring, the magazine follower, all of that will come apart. We have the safety mechanism here that will come apart, which you have to be really careful about with Mossberg and their safety. Their screw is not meant to be backed out. It can be if you have exactly the right screwdriver, but it's meant to kind of cam over. If you spin it to back it out, there's some slopes here, so you have to be really careful with that. And then finally, with this portion, we'll be taking off this ring right here, and then this assembly inside of here will come apart as well. So that'll be what happens when we take apart for the full complete disassembly. But for this particular assignment, this is the field strip in its entirety. So with that, we'll begin reassembly here. Now, reassembly of the Mossberg 590 Shockwave is exactly the same in reverse when putting it as it was for when we were taking it apart.
Let's see that in an instant replay.
I will say, however, it's a bit tedious, and there are some parts where we'll try and go over real quickly to be careful. Oh, one part I forgot to mention, the injector is inside of here. We'll be taking that out with the complete disassembly as well. There's a screw right here, a flathead screw, and then you can just see the ejector right there, which fits through the bolt. So, all right. So, last thing we took out was the lifter. So we're going to put the lifter back in. Again, you just squeeze together. You put that inside of there. Okay. And next thing we're going to do is slide the bolt in. Now, for the bolt, there's a little catch right here that you want to make sure you push down. Otherwise, it will get stuck on this little ledge right inside of here. So you want to make sure you push that little catch down. And it does pop up pretty easily, so you kind of got to finagle it with a little bit. I imagine that with a Mossberg that has a lot more wear and tear and use and everything else, that it'll be a little bit more difficult to keep that down. But you just want to make sure that that's down when you go to reassemble. Now, there's a slide right here on this side. That slide is going to be where the ejector slides through that spot, so that's kind of the part that you're aiming for inside of here. Let's see, get the lifter out of the way. And I'm not sure how well I'm filming this, but you're going to get that back past that point there. We're gonna put this piece on. Now again, this is one of those spots where it's a little easier to take apart than it is to put together, but you just want to fit these inside. They're going to find several little lips that they catch on their way in on each side. So you just kind of gotta finagle, push down, and get those past all the points that they need to get past. There we go. Okay, and what you're trying to do is get it to kind of that part where they start to come back up. Get this slid back, because when you put in the bolt slide, this part goes into the bolt, and then the catch for when you're grabbing the slide handle here, that you want to make sure fits down inside of there. So let's go ahead, kind of, there we go. So you see it kind of all just locks into place. All right. Now this is another part where it would help if you had like 6 different hands, but you're gonna take the cartridge interrupter, and it's gonna go on one side. There's a spot that looks like a pinhole. It's actually the part for the cartridge interrupter. So you're gonna kind of line that up and get it in its place, and the cartridge stop. You're gonna take that on the other side. Now those are just held in by willpower at this point. So you're going to take this. Now Mossberg says that you need to have the hammer down, which we never put the hammer up, but if we were taking this apart completely, we'd need to make sure that we push the hammer back down when we go to reinstall. There's 2 tiny little lips right here. You're going to slide those up underneath all the way forward, and then kind of fit this down inside of there. All right, then we take the pin, push the pin back in, make sure that it's centered. Okay, and then we're going to take the barrel. Now on the barrel, this little catch right there is that spot right here, and then this ring in the front. So those are the 2 parts that you're looking to line up here. So we're going to slide this back in here and make sure you can see inside here. Let's see if I can point that out. This little space. So in order to know you're all the way back, is you just kind of push back till that little space disappears. Okay. And we take our magazine nut here, screw this back in. It's got some little lips, so it starts to click there towards the end. You just click all the way tight. All right. So that completes reassembly. And now we'll go over a functions check. So for the functions check, same thing. We're going to make sure that it's clear of ammunition, even though we just took it apart visually and physically. Okay, that it's unsafe. Nothing in the back. All right, now with the firearm pointed in a safe direction, which I didn't mention when we were clearing it the first time, but you always want to make sure your firearm's pointed in a safe direction. You're going to push the release again. Make sure that your lifter is coming up. Okay. Now with it on safe, you're going to pull the trigger and see if you hear any hammer drop. There is no hammer drop. Now we're going to take it, put it on fire. We're going to pull the trigger. We heard the hammer drop. Okay. Now with my finger still pulled, we're going to eject and put the slide handle back forward. Now with that, we should hear the trigger reset, which we did. Okay, so trigger's reset. Now, because I haven't fired, this should be locked. I shouldn't be able to pull this back, which we can't. Now once I pull the trigger, we should be able to pull it back. And the last thing we're going to check is just to make sure that this is working here, which it is. So with that, we have fully done a functions check on this particular firearm. We're going to place it back on safe. And that completes my week 2 field strip, disassembly, and reassembly of the Mossberg 590 Shockwave.